This would have been the night the world was a point of no return, a night that would have triggered a war far bigger than anything we've seen in recent years. Missiles are ready, deadlines were set, and the warning had already been delivered to the world. A whole civilization will die tonight. That was the message from the United States President Donald Trump just hours before a planned military strike on Iran. The stakes could not have been higher. But then, at the very last moment, everything changed. In a dramatic and unexpected move, Trump announced a 2-week ceasefire with Iran, stepping back from what many feared would be a devastating escalation. The announcement came late Tuesday evening. With less than 2 hours before the strike deadline, Trump posted online that the attack has been suspended, not cancelled, suspended. And the reason behind this sudden shift reveals just how fragile the situation truly is. According to Trump, the decision followed urgent diplomatic intervention, particularly from leaders in Pakistan. Behind closed doors, negotiations had intensified. Pressure had mounted. If that deal, at least a temporary one, began to take shape. But these ceasefires come with conditions, very specific conditions. At the center of it all is one of the most critical choke points in the global economy, the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow strip of water carries nearly 1/5 of the world's oil supply. It connects the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Sea, and for weeks it has been at the heart of this conflict. After the war began in the late February, following joint US and Israeli strike, Iran moved quickly to tighten control over the strait. Not a full shutdown, but enough to disrupt global trade, enough to send oil prices climbing, enough to create uncertainty in markets around the world. For American families, that means rising gas prices. For global economies, it meant instability. And for Washington, it created a growing political and economic problem. Trump made it clear reopening the Strait of Hormuz was non-negotiable. And now, under this temporary agreement, Iran has signaled that it is willing to cooperate, but on its own terms. Iran says safe passage will resume, but only through coordination with armed forces. That detail is critical because it shows that Iran is not simply backing down, it is negotiating from a position of strength. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas confirmed the agreement and outlined Tehran's stance. If attacks against Iran stop, its military operations will also stop. In other words, this ceasefire is conditional on mutual restraint, a fragile balance. One wrong move could break it, but there is more. This is not just a ceasefire, it's a doorway to negotiation. For the first time since the conflict escalated, the United States and Iran are preparing for direct talks, and the location is significant. Islamabad, the capital of Pakistan, is now set to host these high-stakes negotiations, a neutral ground, a strategic choice, and a sign that diplomacy is being given one more chance. According to Iranian officials, these talks will be based on a 10-point proposal presented by Tehran. While not all the details have been made public, key demands have already emerged. Iran wants full control and recognition of its role in securing the Strait of Hormuz, and it wants the lifting of US sanctions. These are not small requests. They go to the core of the long-standing tensions between Washington and Tehran. Yet, despite these challenges, Trump has expressed confidence. He claims the United States has already achieved its military objectives. He says both sides are very far along in reaching a long-term agreement. And perhaps most notably, he says that almost all major points of contention have already been resolved. That raises an important question. If so much progress has been made, why did the world come so close to a major military strike? Just hours before announcing the ceasefire, Trump's message was not one of diplomacy. It was one of destruction. A whole civilization will die tonight. Those words sent shockwaves across the globe. They heightened fears of a catastrophic war. They triggered anxiety across financial markets, and they left US allies scrambling to prepare for the worst. Now those same allies are breathing a cautious sigh of relief, because what seemed inevitable just hours ago has now been delayed, but only for 2 weeks. And in geopolitics, 2 weeks can feel like both a lifetime and no time at all. The conflict itself has already lasted more than 5 weeks. It began on February 28th when the United States and Israel launched a coordinated military offensive against Iran. The stated goal is to eliminate Iran as a regional threat and prevent it from developing nuclear weapons. But the consequences have been far-reaching. Iran responded with force, and quickly the conflict spread beyond its borders. Allied groups across the region became involved. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Houthi fighters in Yemen, both launched attacks tied to the border confrontation. What started as a targeted operation turned into a regional crisis, and the human cost has been significant. Thousands have been killed in Iran, dozens more in neighboring regions. Military losses have mounted on multiple sides, and the risk of an even wider war has remained dangerously high. That's why this ceasefire matters, because it offers a chance, however small, to stop this escalation, to create space for diplomacy, to prevent conflict that will pull in global powers. But serious challenges remain. One of the biggest questions is Israel. Will it fully support this ceasefire? Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been a strong advocate for continued military pressure on Iran. His government views Iran as a long-term threat, and past ceasefires in the region have not always helped. If Israel continues its operations independently, the situations could quickly spiral out of control. There's also the issue of trust. Decades of hostility cannot be erased overnight. Even now, both sides are carefully positioning themselves. The United States wants stability in global energy markets. Iran, on the other side, wants relief from sanctions and recognition of its influence. Both have something to gain, but both also have reasons to remain cautious. And then there's the Strait of Hormuz. Even with this agreement, Iran's control over the water will remain a powerful bargaining tool. By linking safe passage to military coordination, Tehran is maintaining leverage. It is a reminder that while the ceasefires reduce immediate tensions, the underlying power struggle is far from resolved. Meanwhile, back in the United States, pressure is building. Rising fuel costs have affected everyday Americans. Critics have questioned the strategy, and even within Trump's political base, concerns have been raised about the risk of prolonged conflict. All of this adds urgency to the upcoming talks in Islamabad, because the next 2 weeks will determine what happens next. Will this fragile ceasefire hold? Will negotiations lead to a lasting agreement, or will these simply be a pause before the next phase of conflict? For now, the world is watching the diplomats, watching the military movements, watching every signal that will hint at what comes next, because the outcome of these talks will not just shape US-Iran relations, it will shape the future of the Middle East, global energy markets, and potentially global security itself. For now, the bombs have stopped, the warnings have quieted, and the countdown has been paused. But the question remains, is this the beginning of peace, or just a calm before something far more dangerous? The next 2 weeks will decide. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to The Voice of All so you don't miss out on any episodes of the developing story. Thank you.